Okay.
Because you said you're comfortable sharing all parts of you, and so let's
Hmm.
start so we can really paint a picture of your childhood and how you got to that moment at 15 where that terrible thought popped into your mind. Let's start from the beginning.
Well, so the early beginning is my very first memory, for opening memory of my life. The earliest thing I can ever remember is me laying on my bloody mom's body while I'm looking up at my father. Well, he has a cross-shaped tire iron in his hand, and I'm screaming at him, "You just killed my mom!" And
Jesus.
that she wasn't dead, but she was beaten, bloody, and unconscious. And that's like a flashbulb memory that's the start of my life.
That's like the
And
Dexter storyline.
I've never seen that show. I should watch that show. You're like the third person that told me that, actually.
Just don't
Um,
watch the final season. Pretend it ends after five.
I've
That's it.
heard that too. Yeah. So that's the early life. My father was a Vietnam vet. By the time I was born, he was a drug addicted monster who was just a wife beater, basically a rapist, just evil monster. Not basically, flat out rapist. And I have an older brother who's 2 years older, and my father was so vicious that we have the very first permanent restraining order that was ever issued in Colorado was issued on my father.
Wow.
And the we would run from battered woman shelter to battered woman shelter to get away from him, and he would chase us down and track us down. Like he was a hunting kind of guy. He would hunt us, and so we would like think we would escape and then come to the house, and he'd be hiding underneath the kitchen table when we brought the groceries in, and he'd burst out, knock my mom down, rape her in front of me and my brother, and make us watch. Like
Oh my
very just
god.
vicious guy. So yeah,
Oh my god.
every kind of abuse imaginable from birth to five. And then when my mom escaped him, she, I don't know how that process happened because she sent me and my brother up to Oregon for a year to live with her family and my grandma and my grandpa and my uncle. And that was an escape for her and really toxic for us because that toxicity rolls downhill, and that's the mountain my toxic hill was rolling down. And it was my pedophile uncle, my who raped and abused a 4-year-old and the 4-year-old's mom in a pickup truck right outside my aunt's house while me and my brother were in the house. He never touched me and my brother because when he tried to, I beat him almost to death with a broomstick. Um,
Oh.
the My pedophilic great grandfather who raped like the whole generation above me, and so yeah, like it's that kind of that's where the monsters came from. And so
Wow.
they, after a year of that, they sent us back to Colorado. My mom had gotten left my father, got with my stepdad, who I never called dad. I always called him Dave. And it went from extreme violence and beatings and rapes to crime and crack and stealing and robbing and lying and manipulation because Dave was a criminal. When I met him, he was actually I met him when he was in prison. When we got back from Colorado, he was in the process of serving out a 4-year sentence for strong arm robbery because they would hijack entire delivery trucks. So I met him at a halfway house and would see him on furlough. And so when he finally got all the way out, he continued that crime spree that he was on, and
Wow.
would go hijack entire delivery trucks of places to like Toys R Us or Kmart or anywhere like that, and take all the stuff in it and go sell it at the flea market. And so every now and then in my life, I have memories of like going to having like 30 cases of stainless steel scissors, and we're selling them at the flea market for some reason. Yeah,
What the
and
heck?
I don't know where that came from. And but then they would just take all the money and blow it on crack and coke, and but they didn't believe in hiding anything, so they would like do everything right in the middle of the living room. So they would pull out the cast iron skillet or the flat iron electric skillet and the vials, and they would just rock up the crack right in front of us.
And you're how old when this is happening?
Six, six, five, six.
What the hell?
Yeah. And so that kind of I actually right around that age, 6, 7, 8, I took crack to show and tell at school, at one of my many schools I went to.
Hold on. What?
Yeah, yeah. I took
Like
crack.
you're leaving in the morning and you're like, I'm just gonna take this thing that my parents use and take it to
Uh-huh.
school and see what people say.
Yeah, yeah. It was show and tell.
How
Yeah.
did the teacher react?
She took it to the counseling office and they sent me home. And then a couple, like I think within the week we had moved. That was one of the times where we ended up moving from place to place. I went to like 40 different schools, was constantly moving back and forth from Oregon to Colorado. With as soon as we get back to my stepdad, that started the nomadic period where we're just bouncing back and forth constantly. And usually hopping in the back of a pickup truck and driving for 10 hours. So like not even a camper or nothing, just throw a plastic tarp over the back of a pickup truck and drive. And it was, yeah, it was, and we're
Chaos.
sitting in the back of the
Pure
pickup truck, and
chaos.
we're sitting in the back of the pickup truck. They're driving at like 90 miles an hour, high off their minds on coke, flying down the highway across Wyoming. Yeah, it's some scary times. And
Yeah.
getting evicted, and the different schools I go to have a bunch of different bullies, and like every different school I go to, I'm constantly the new kid. I never get any kind of sense of permanence anywhere I go, and at the same time I'm dirty and filthy and smelly and nasty. And there was a school, I thought it was in Oregon, but actually it was in Colorado, because the girl who there's a story about it. One time I was walking to school and defecated in myself. I crapped my own pants and just kept on going to
Right.
walk to school. Went to school the whole day with crap filled pants. And
What?
the next day I just went to school, stayed in school all day long with crap filled pants. And the next day I showed up to school and there was a box of supplies for me. The teacher had a box of stuff. There was like a coat and pants and so school supplies and all this stuff. And I took it home to my family. I'm like, hey, check this out. Look at what I got. Yay. And that was one of the signals. Within a week, we were gone. That was one of we moved and bounced out, because if that teacher's getting too close, that means social workers are getting too close. That means the people are getting investigated too much. That means they needed to go. So we kept on moving. And
Right. So I think we talked
um,
about this a little bit before the call, because does it seem like those lessons taught you that anytime someone did something good for you, or anytime you accepted something that was good for you, then that was like the danger zone.
yeah, yeah. Anytime trying to get help was very perilous. Like that taught me early on, actually, that trying to go out and trying to get help from any teacher or counselor was going to cause me to get could make my whole world blow up. Could make my
Right.
mom go to jail. My parents siblings go to foster care. Could make everything blow up. So I stopped really trying to get help pretty early on, because the going into counseling can be like walking into a room full of spikes that are pointed inside. Like you never know what you might say that could cause that jaw of death to snap shut. Because if like my home life is toxic in hell, and my parents are lying manipulators who are insulting and crime and crack and violence, my internal monologue is nothing but hatred and violence and disgustingness, and I hate myself. And that, how can I be expected to go into a counseling office and not say anger, violence, and hatred, and
Right.
not say something that's going to cause a mandatory report that's going to cause everything to get slammed down? So why even
And
go to help?